to propose weather welcome address. Indeed, it's my great pleasure to welcome all the participants to this webinar on vistas in the field of research and innovation. I'm so happy to introduce today's speaker, Dr. A. Ranjita ma'am. She defended her PhD at Coimbatore Institute of Technology, CIT Coimbatore, in thin films and nanomaterials. She had a vast experience in the field of fabrication and characterization of photovoltaic cells with different quantum dots. Dr. A. Ranjita also secured MTech degree in nanoscience and nanotechnology. She had 8 years of research experience and 4 years of teaching experience. The following quote will suit it better for her commitment as a mentor. A good teacher is like a candle, it consumes itself to light the way for others. She also participated and delivered her research findings in various conferences and seminars. As a result, she published 15 articles in reputed international journals. And as a token of her credit, she acted as a reviewer in international journals such as Solar Energy, Materials Letters, Material Science and Materials in Electronics, and Journal of Materials Chemistry, and take part as a life member in Indian Science Congress Association. With this short introduction, I welcome the speaker and participants to this webinar session on different generations of solar cells. The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out the why. Now I hand over the session to Dr. A. Ranjita ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ranjita madam, please unmute your microphone, madam. Okay, madam, you can proceed.
Thank you, sir, for a nice introduction. Good afternoon to all. I thank our President, Dr. M. Arichami, sir, our beloved Secretary and Director, Dr. C. A. Vasagi, madam, respected Principal, Dr. M. Lakshmanasamy, sir, and all other committee members for giving opportunity to deliver a lecture in this webinar series, The Vistas in the Field of Research and Innovations. It is a great pleasure to have the opportunity to speak to all of you today. Once again, I welcome you all to the e-session on generation of solar cells. Now, the question arises, why solar? Because the total world demand is approximately 10 to the power of 13 watts. As we know, the primary source of electricity are the fossil fuels, but these non-renewable energy sources are at the verge of depletion and pricing of fossil fuels are rising up. This you can see in the first picture. So photovoltaic is considered as one of the viable alternative for the power crisis and economical source of electricity. In second figure, you can see the incoming solar power towards Earth's surface is 174 petawatt. Out of this 174 petawatt, few amount of energy is absorbed by clouds, atmosphere, and reflected back. But about half the incoming solar energy, about 89 petawatt of energy reaches Earth's surface. So, solar energy is considered as one of the viable alternative. And next, coming to the electricity consumption in India, it is an indication of growing appetite for electricity in India. The country's per capita electricity consumption has reached 1,181 kilowatt in 2018-19 compared with 1,122 kilowatt in 2017-18. This was the data provided by India's Apex Power Sector Planning. And it was not now, but in 1876 itself, it was reported in Popular Science that the sun will be the fuel of the future. And also, it was reported in Times of India that Tamil Nadu stands at 9th place in world in utilizing renewable power. And Tamil Nadu leads India in variable renewable market shares. And also, the renewable energy in India comes under the purview of the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, MNRE. Newer renewable electricity sources are targeted to grow massively by year 2022. The Indian renewable energy sector is the fourth most attractive renewable energy market in the world, and the government of India is committed to increased use of clean energy source and is already undertaking various large-scale sustainable power projects and promoting green energy heavily. And coming to the India's year-on-year target, this chart shows year-on-year target. And actual installed solar capacity was 37,627 megawatt till 2020, which is a cumulative data. But the targeted that solar capacity was 100 gigawatts by the year 2022. And followed by the solar goal, the solar power cost shows a decreased tariff of 2.44 INR per kilowatt in the year 2017, which was a lesser amount compared to the tariff in 2011, which was about 8.79 INR per kilowatt. And next, the first picture shows Charles Fritz. It was Charles Fritz who fabricated the first solar cell. The first solar cell, consisting a layer of selenium covered with a thin film of gold, was experimented by Charles Fritz in 1884, but it showed low efficiency. And second picture shows Russell. Russell was recognized for patterning the modern solar cell. And third picture shows Chapin, Fuller, and Pearson. Kelvin Fuller, a chemist, and Gerland Pearson, a physicist, were working on controlling the properties of semiconductors by introducing impurities. Fuller gave Pearson a piece of silicon containing gallium impurities. Pearson dipped it in lithium, creating a PN junction. And Pearson then hooked up an ammeter to the piece of silicon and shined light on it. To his surprise, the ammeter jumped significantly to their surprise. And Pearson, who was aware of Chapin's work, went and told his friend not to waste time on selenium solar cells, and Chapin immediately switched to silicon. This is how we have switched to silicon solar cells. And this picture is the first practical solar cell. This first practical solar cell was installed in the year 1954. And next, this picture shows Professor Michael Gratzel. Professor Michael Gratzel, who was a 2010 Millennium Technology Prize winner, also called as father of Dyson-Stay solar cell, quoted that if we can cover about 1% of the total Earth area with solar cells with 10% efficiency, then the energy produced would satisfy our current demand. And this was the quote proposed by Michael Gratzel. Before moving into the evolution of solar cell devices, now let us discuss about what is solar cell and its history. As we know, solar cell, or otherwise called as photovoltaic cell, is the device that converts the radiation of the sun to electricity. Ever since 1954, when the first modern silicon p-n junction solar cell is invented at Bell Laboratory, many attempts have been done looking for a high efficiency, low cost solar cells, leaving several significant milestones. In 1991, the first Dyson-Stay solar cell was invented. In 1994, there came the first cell that exceeds 30% conversion efficiency using gallium indium phosphate and gallium arsenide compounds. Besides material research, much has been done for increasing sunlight concentration and carrier collection and cell stability. Now let us discuss about different evolution of solar cell devices. Here we can see the solar cells are basically classified into two types: cells that generate free electron hole pairs and cells that generate bound electron hole pair. And cells that generate free electron hole pairs are further classified into two types, that is first generation and second generation solar cells, which involves silicon in the first generation and 2,6 that is cadmium telluride, and 3,5, that is gallium arsenide, indium phosphate compounds in second generation solar cells. And the third generation solar cell involves dye-sensitized solar cell, quantum dot sensitized solar cell, hybrid solar cells, and organic solar cells. And coming to the physics of solar cells, as we know, semiconductors can be of p type or n type. Putting them together bring a p-n junction. A solar cell is a very large p-n junction where holes from p side diffuse to n side and vice versa. This leaves behind charged ions. The charged ions create an electric field. This electric field makes it easy for current flow in one direction but hard to flow in the opposite direction. And this figure shows generation of charges when photon hit the junction. When light falls on the junction, it breaks the silicon bonds and creates free electrons, and the built-in field separates electrons and holes. And this figure shows schematic of light generation when photons fall on a solar cell. The photons in the visible region, the lines mentioned with green arrows, that are that are the photons coming under the visible region. The photons in the visible region are observed and converted into electrical energy, whereas the other wavelength photons are observed but not converted into electrical energy, because they do not have enough energy to bridge the band gap of the material from which solar cells are made. And this slide shows the overview of different generation solar cells. And coming to the first generation solar cell, that is silicon based solar cells. The first generation solar cells are the dominant technology in commercial production, accounting for more than 86% of the solar cell market. Here, single crystal silicon wafers are used. And also, this consists of a large area, single layer p-n junction diode. And this figure shows the light is generated, how light is generated when photons hit silicon cells. The working of this type of p-n junction solar cell, this we have discussed in the earlier slide. And moving on to first generation evaluation, the advantages and disadvantages. Even though the efficiencies are high with advantages of broad spectral absorption range and high carrier mobilities, there are some disadvantages too, such as it requires expensive manufacturing technologies, as well as growing and sawing of ingots is a highly energy intensive process and fairly easily for an electron generated in another molecule to hit a hole left behind in a previous photo excitation. And much of the energy of higher energy photons at the blue and violet end of the spectrum is wasted as heat. These are the advantages and disadvantages of first generation solar cell. And moving on to second generation solar cell. The second generation solar cells are otherwise called as thin film solar cells. The second generation solar cells are classified into amorphous silicon solar cells, copper indium gallium selenide solar cells, that is CAGS solar cells, and cadmium telluride CDTE solar cells. Like conventional solar cell, the amorphous, the first type of solar cell under second generation solar cell is the amorphous silicon. Like conventional solar panels, amorphous silicon solar panels are made from silicon, but they are constructed in a different way. Instead of being constructed from solid silicon wafers like mono or polycrystalline solar panels, amorphous panels are made by depositing non-crystalline silicon on a substrate like glass, plastic, or metal with a thickness of 1 micrometer. And coming to the second type, that is CAGS solar cells. The CAGS solar panels offer a potentially competitive efficiency to traditional silicon panels with efficiencies exceeding 20% at laboratory level. But the CAGS cells use toxic chemicals, and the primary disadvantage of CAGS panels are their price. And the first figure shows the construction of CAGS solar cells. And the next one, coming to the third one, cadmium telluride solar cells. Cadmium telluride, that is CDTE thin film panels, are made from cadmium telluride and surrounding layers for electricity conduction and collection. The second figure shows the fabrication of CDTE solar cells. And the CDS layer present above the CDTE observer layer provides a receptive surface for CDTE nucleation and growth and forms a high quality heterojunction with the observer. And coming to the second generation types, second generation solar cells fall under thin film technology. As mentioned earlier, this type of solar cells use deposits of semiconductors. Using of thin films reduces mass of material required for cell design and contributes greatly to reduced cost for thin film solar cells. And several semiconductor materials are currently under investigation for mass production. And coming to the advantages and disadvantages of second generation solar cells. The advantages of second generation solar cells are low manufacturing cost, reduced mass, less support is needed when placing panels on rooftops, and the main advantage is that it allows fitting panels on light or flexible materials. And the disadvantages are amorphous silicon is not stable and increased toxicity while fabricating CDTE and CAGS solar cells. And coming to the third generation solar cells. Out of these different generations, third generation solar cells apply nanotechnology. This is one of the main advantage of third generation solar cells. The nanotechnology is used to enhance the performance of solar cells. And the advantages of third generation solar cells are adjustable band gap and can be coated on flexible substrates with better stability and long lifetime. And the third generation solar cells are called as photoelectrochemical solar cells because this type of solar cells consist of a semiconducting photoanode and a metal cathode immersed in a electrolyte. Materials used in this type of solar cells are iodine, triiodide, sulfide compounds, etc. are used in this type of solar cells. The other one type is Gratzel cell, otherwise called as dye-sensitized solar cell. Here, the photoanode is sensitized by a dye molecule. It may be a commercial dye or natural dye. And the overall conversion efficiency is about 11% in case of dye-sensitized solar cell. And coming to the types of third generation solar cells, the third generation solar cells are classified into dye-sensitized solar cell, quantum dot sensitized solar cell, organic or polymer solar cells. The dye-sensitized solar cell and quantum dot sensitized solar cell uses sensitizers over the photoanode. Usually, semiconductors like titanium zinc oxide are used as a photoanode material to improve the efficiency. And coming to the overview of third generation solar cells, these solar cells do not rely on traditional PN junction to separate charge carriers. They are different from previous semiconductor devices. And this figure shows different types of solar cells. The first figure shows metal junction solar cell. The first one shows the metal junction solar cells with semiconductor nanocrystals. Where the nanotechnology has been used to enhance the efficiency of the solar cells. And second figure shows polymer solar cells. The architecture of polymer solar cells has an active polymer and a semiconducting layer for electron ejection. And the third figure shows device architecture of quantum dot sensitized solar cell. Here, quantum dots are sensitized over titanium dioxide or any type of semiconducting material, and on excitation of this sensitizer, light is being generated. And moving on to the third generation evolution, that is advantages and disadvantages of third generation solar cells. Now let us discuss about the advantages. The advantages are inexpensive device for conversion of solar energy into electrical energy, and is an attractive replacement for existing technologies because this particular generation of solar cells uses nanotechnology for enhancing the efficiency of the device. And the main advantage is that this type of solar cells work even in low light conditions and they are rechargeable and upgradable. This is the main advantage. But they show low efficiency compared with silicon. And the challenging task, this is one of the disadvantage. And the challenging task or degradation effect and polymer cells suffer from degradation of the electrode from electrolyte. And moving on to the merits and demerits and what are the requirements for ideal solar cell material. With many challenges, still research is going on third generation solar cells because solar cell modules prepared using bulk are not economical due to high material and processing cost, and the modules prepared using thin film is expected to lower the cost significantly by reducing the material and processing cost. And coming to the requirements of ideal solar cells. First and foremost, the third generation solar cells are based on nanocrystals and nanoporous materials, which are promising, but still they are in research stage. In this type of solar cells, in addition to nanotechnological concept, the conversion of light and capture by solar cell is enabled by altering a nanostructured semiconductor interface with a dye or conjugated polymer or quantum dot or semiconductor nanocrystals respectively. And there are certain requirements for ideal solar cell materials, such as the material should be readily available and it should be non-toxic and should show good photovoltaic conversion efficiency and long-term stability. And the material with these properties are semiconductors. Therefore, semiconductors are used in third generation solar cells. And coming to the experimental part, the solar cell is basically classified into the photoelectrochemical solar cells are basically classified into working electrode, photoanode, electrolyte solution. And coming to the experimental part of preparation of photoanode, there are various synthesis techniques available such as pulsed laser deposition, spray pyrolysis, chemical vapor deposition, CILR, chemical bath deposition, and sol gel method. Among these, sol gel method is the simplest technique, low power consumption method, and least expensive method with advantages such as controllability, reliability, large area coating is possible, and films with good homogeneity can be obtained. Among various semiconducting materials, today's focus is on titanium dioxide. Why titanium dioxide is selected? Because titanium dioxide, called as TiO2, the molecular formula is TiO2. TiO2 has attracted considerable attention owing to wide band gap and thin films of TiO2 has applications in areas like environment, photocatalysis, electrochromic devices, and photovoltaic cells. And TiO2 finds wide application because of its biocompatibility, thermal stability, non-toxicity, and long-term photostability. And also TiO2 exists in three polymorphs, namely anatase, rutile, and brucite. Among these, anatase-phase TiO2 shows relatively high reactivity and chemical stability and is used for solar cell applications. Anatase TiO2 has high energy barrier than rutile TiO2. Hence, anatase phase suppresses hole transfer and back electron transfer more effectively. So, maximum we will be preferring anatase phase TiO2 for preparation of photoanode material. And in order to broaden its photo response and promote its solar energy conversion, many efforts have been made to modify TiO2 thin films such as surface modification, doping, sensitization of quantum dot or dye molecules, and the doping of semiconductor is known to greatly affect the basic physical properties like electrical, optical, and structural properties, which are all the crucial parameters for most of the practical applications. The metal doping is an effective procedure used to modify grain size, orientation, and conductivity. Now let us move on to preparation of TiO2 or photoanode material in a solar cell, particularly photoelectrochemical solar cell. Figure shows sol gel dip coating process. This is one of the simplest technique that we can proceed in our laboratory. Required amount of titanium in order to prepare TiO2 thin films. Required amount of titanium tetra isopropoxide, acetic acid, and polyethylene glycol were dissolved in ethanol and subjected to dip coating. Then cleaned glass substrates are immersed into the solution. And a wet layer is formed over the substrate. This you can see in the second block diagram. First block diagram represents a glass substrate is immersed into the solution contained in a beaker, and second block diagram shows the substrate is being withdrawn from the solution so that the solution excess solution will drop over into the beaker, and a wet layer will be formed over the substrate. And third block diagram shows solvent evaporation. After some time, the solvent will be evaporated from the substrate, forming a TiO2 thin film. And the obtained thin films are subjected to annealing in order to remove the organic residues present during synthesis process. And the film produced in this manner is subjected to analysis such as structural. Sir?
Ranjita
Sir?
ma'am, I'm sorry for the disturbance, ma'am. Once again, share the screen, ma'am.
Why, sir?
Screen வந்து visible ஆகலைங்க.
Sir,
I think in between
இப்ப காட்டுது.
but நீங்க stop presenting கொடுத்துட்டு மேம். Once again share பண்ணுங்க.
எப்ப இருந்து சார் காட்டல?
Once again share பண்ணுங்க. என்னங்க?
எப்ப இருந்து காட்டலைங்க சார்? எந்த ஸ்லைட்ல இருந்துன்னு சொன்னீங்கன்னா திருப்ப காட்டுங்க.
ஒரு 1 minute.
ஓகே சார். அப்ப திரும்பவும் அந்த preparation ஸ்லைட்ல
நீங்க ஸ்டாப் பிரசன்ட் பண்ணுங்க. ஒன்ஸ் அகைன் பிரசன்ட் பண்ணிட்டு எந்த ஸ்கிரீன்ல இப்ப நீங்க ஸ்டாப் பண்ணீங்களோ அங்க மூவ் ஆயிட்டு தென் பிரசன்ட் பண்ணுங்க.
ஓகே சார். ஓகே.
ஓகே, थैंक यू. Dear participants, please do not share your screen in between the presentation. Ma'am, okay, you proceed, ma'am. Ranjita ma'am?
Sir, just a minute. Sir, is it visible now? Okay, sir. Thank you.
It's okay, ma'am. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Sorry for the inconvenience because I'm using mobile phone. And going to the structural property analysis, the prepared thin films are then subjected to analysis. First, we have to confirm whether the prepared films are of anatase phase or rutile or bruchite. For that, we have undergone X-ray diffraction analysis. And from this, we have compared the obtained graph with the standard JCPDS card data, and we inferred that the prepared thin film are of anatase phase TiO2. And in order to cross verify, we have calculated the C/A ratio. For anatase phase, the C/A ratio is greater than 1, whereas for rutile phase TiO2, the C/A ratio is less than 1. In our case, I have mentioned the A value and C value. A and C are nothing but the lattice parameters. In our case, the C/A ratio was calculated to be 2.52, which is greater than 1. So, which again confirms the formation of anatase phase TiO2. And going to the surface morphology analysis. Here we have doped different elements like silver, nickel, and gadolinium, because earlier I have mentioned in order to improve the efficiency of the solar cell, various alterations has been done to the photoanode. One such alteration is doping. So we have doped different elements like silver, nickel and gadolinium, and the same images are shown here. The first A represents tin doped TaO2, and B represents silver doped TaO2, and C represents nickel doped TaO2, and D represents gadolinium doped TaO2. We have obtained a very good homogeneous film. This has been inferred from the SEM analysis. And moving on to sensitization, the second technique to improve the efficiency. Apart from doping, the alternate technique used to increase the photo response is sensitization. Sensitization can be done using metal complexes, organic dyes, natural dyes, or quantum dots. Natural dyes have been studied as possible sensitizer due to their abundant presence in flowers, leaves, fruits, and also they are cost efficient, and mainly they are non-toxic and completely biodegradable. And moving on to the device fabrication. As mentioned, the device fabrication in this method has three main parts. One is working electrode and counter electrode and electrolyte solution. And device first part is working electrode. The sensitized TaO2 thin film deposited on ITO substrate serves as working electrode. And the second one, counter electrode. The counter electrode is prepared by coating platinum on ITO substrate. For this, platinum chloride is dissolved in 2-propanol solution and spin coated over ITO and annealed at 500 degrees Celsius. And third one is the electrolyte solution. Lithium iodide in acetonitrile is used as an electrolyte solution. Here you can see the sensitized films. The first one, the yellow color coated, is quantum dot sensitized, that is cadmium sulfide quantum dot sensitized TaO2 on ITO substrate. The glass-like structure is the ITO substrate, and over that the yellow color shows the sensitization of quantum dot over the TaO2. And the next figure, the purple color shows natural dye. We have collected beetroot essence and we have coated over titanium dioxide thin films, and we have studied the photo response. And this figure, the third one, shows how we have fabricated the solar cell at laboratory level. The photo anode and the working electrode are brought into contact, and in between the electrolyte solution is dropped so that we can construct a solar cell. And next, moving on to third generation solar cells, that is quantum dot sensitized solar cell. Okay, here this first block diagram shows how a quantum dot sensitized solar cell works. While illumination, yellow color arrow shows sunlight or any type of light is illuminated over the solar cell. While illumination, the quantum dot sensitizer present in the TaO2 film. This Q dot represents quantum dot, and the blue color colored film is the coated titanium dioxide film. While illumination, the quantum dot sensitizer present in the TaO2 film absorbs incident light. This causes excitation of electrons in quantum dot from the valence band to the conduction band. Then the excited electrons are injected into the TaO2 or any type of semiconducting material which is of interest we have fabricated. And the injected electrons in TaO2 are transported through the external load to the counter electrode. Meanwhile, quantum dots accept electrons from the redox mediator. Redox mediator is nothing but the electrolytic solution that we have mentioned as redox. Both arrows are mentioned because it is getting it accepts the electron as well as donates the electron. Consequently, the mediator diffuses to the counter electrode where it is being reduced. In this way, one cycle will be completed, and the overall device generates electric power from light without suffering any permanent chemical transformation. The same working principle applies for dye-sensitive solar cell, with the replacement of quantum dye by dye molecules. By replacing this quantum dot, the dye molecules, the second picture shows dye-sensitive solar cell. Sunlight is being incident on the solar cell. The TiO2 are mentioned in gray color balls, and the purple balls, small balls, represents dye molecules. And the same way which I have explained for quantum dots, here also dye molecules get excited, transfer the electrons to TiO2, and again it transfers and it is passed through the load, and that is how the current is generated. And these two films, the first white film shows TiO2 on ITO substrate, and second one dye-sensitive solar cell, that is mentioned as DSSC. This is the beetroot extract sensitized TiO2 thin film. And now let me show you an animation how this solar cells, dye-sensitive solar cells are working. Here you can see the sunlight is incident on the dye-sensitive solar cells. The purple color circles are titanium dioxide molecules, and the green color dye molecules. Green color represents dye molecules. Once they absorb the sunlight, the green color dye molecules get excited, and the excited dye molecules are represented by orange color. And you can see how it is how the light is getting generated. This is how a dye-sensitive solar cell works. And moving on to another type of modification, surface modification. The another type of surface modification is done by hydrothermal method. Here the two SEM images shows titanium dioxide. First SEM image shows, that is A shows hydrothermally treated TiO2 thin films, and B shows quantum dot sensitized TiO2, the same hydrothermally treated TiO2 thin films. Here the second image you can see the quantum dot has been well coated over the cactus-like structure TiO2. And the quantum dot, the efficiency calculated out of this type of hydrothermally treated TiO2 shows an efficiency of 1.5%. This result is an indication of enhancement in efficiency when we are altering the structure. And even though there are many advantages in third generation solar cells, the long-term stability is a challenging issue. And moreover, researchers have gone beyond the inorganic world. Despite their low efficiency, the organic polymers have attracted much interest. The polymer P3HT, poly 3-hexyl thiophane, and 6,6-phenyl butyric acid methyl ester (PCBM) blends is one of the promising organic solar cell materials. It is the most efficient fullerene derivative based donor acceptor copolymer so far. And P3HT is among the polythiophene family, which is a kind of conducting polymer. It is the excitation of the pi orbit electron in P3HT that gives the photovoltaic effect in the blend. The PCBM is a fullerene derivative because of high hole mobility. It plays the role of electron acceptor in many organic cells. And the hybrid polymer or inorganic solar cells have attracted a growing interest in developing stable, low cost, and mechanically flexible photovoltaic devices due to the advantages of high carrier mobility and stability from inorganic semiconductors and flexibility from the polymer. The whole conducting polymers have been combined with the wide range of inorganic nanomaterials or semiconducting materials such as titanium dioxide, zinc oxide, cadmium selenide, etc. And the active layer of these devices are formed by phase separation during the spin coating of mixtures of the polymers and the inorganic materials. To further improve the efficiency, over the past several years, many groups have built hybrid polymer as well as inorganic cells with inverted structure. That is why this slide shows device architecture of inverted organic solar cells, where a conjugated polymer is inserted into inorganic network. Both organic and inorganic phases are continuous, and the transport of generated electrons and holes is facilitated in two separated phases. And the power conversion efficiency of hybrid polymer inorganic solar cell with inverted structure has reached as high as 7%. In terms of literature, the P3HT has the highest charge carrier mobility among the conjugated polymers with high hole mobility. Therefore, in our case, we have used P3HT. Moreover, P3HT has a band gap of 1.9 to 2 electron volt, which matches well with the strongest sunlight. These merits render P3HT as a good candidate for polymer in polymer photovoltaic cells. And several laboratories have reported high performance photovoltaic cells using P3HT as a donor and PCBM as the acceptor. And based on these aspects, we have fabricated the inverted organic solar cell, shortly mentioned as IOSC. Here you can see the same technique we have used to coat the TiO2 thin films. Here we have altered the technique as sol-gel spin coating method. Here the TiO2 thin films have been prepared by spin coating method. Earlier we have deposited TiO2 thin films by sol-gel dip coating method. And the same images of TiO2 and tin doped TiO2 thin films have been shown in figure A and B. And the device architecture is shown in the block diagram. First, the ITO substrate. Above that, the doped TiO2 thin film is used, and P3HT PCBM is coated over that, and molybdenum oxide and aluminum is used as a contact. And the main aim of this inverted organic solar cell fabrication is, in order to overcome the drawbacks of third generation solar cells, the next generation solar cells have been evolved. With the search for cost-effective alternatives, the organic solar cells have been evolved. The organic solar cell is sandwiched between contacts with different work functions, example, aluminium and ITO, giving rise to an electric field. Figure A and B shows the surface morphology of TiO2 and thin doped TiO2 thin films, which are prepared by sol-gel spin coating technique. The prepared films are constructed in the form as shown in figure C, which I mentioned earlier. Here, TiO2 act as electron transport layer, and P3HT PCBM are used as active layer, and molybdenum is used as hole collecting layer, and aluminum is used for contact. This type of fabrication showed a increased efficiency of 3.8%. You can see the graph. That corresponds to JV characteristics of the prepared inverted organic solar cell. And moving on to the next slide, this 6 graph shows the JV characteristics of different dopants over TiO2. Into TiO2. The first one corresponds to indium, second gallium, and third tin, and fourth silver, and fifth nickel, and sixth one gadolinium. This efficiency we have obtained for normal quantum dot sensitized solar cell by using this type of dopants. But you can see the efficiency is comparatively low when compared to the previous case, inverted organic solar cell. Here also we have used the tin dopant, but the efficiency is comparatively high. This is because of the change in device architecture. And here you can see, the next one you can see the JV characteristics of different dye. This JV characteristics corresponds to different types of natural dye sensitizers. This different types of natural dye sensitizers we have obtained from the available sources which we have in our kitchen as well as nearby sources. And the first one corresponds to blue pea, locally called as sangpu, and the red line corresponds to purple cabbage. And in the second graph, you can see there are two lines, one black graph and one red color graph, corresponding to table rose and red rose. And the third graph, we have sensitized the TiO2 using Eclipta alba, locally called as Karisilangani, and the red line corresponds to Solanum nigrum, locally called as Manatakali Kirai. And the table shows the efficiency of these different dye sensitized solar cells. Moreover, we have obtained the efficiency around 1%, even though we have varied the dye sensitizer. And even though this type of solar cell devices are eco-friendly, but the efficiency was low. Because of this reason, we have moved on to the next generation, that is evolution of perovskite solar cells. Dyes do not absorb all the incident light, reducing efficiency. Still, the quest for high efficiency with long-term stability leads to the evolution of perovskite solar cells. And this type of solar cells use the same architecture of dye-sensitive solar cell. This you can see in this diagram. This is basically based on this dye-sensitive solar cell. And in 2009, perovskite turned as a possible replacement of dye, but the liquid electrolyte dissolved the perovskite within minutes. Even though we are having a lot of challenges, the construction of perovskite solar cells involves preparation of electron transport layer, active light absorbing layer, hole transport layer, transparent electrode, and let us discuss about different layers now. The first one is electron transport layer. The function of electron transport layer is to prevent diffusion of cathode elements to the active layer and to act as an electron transporter by blocking holes. For example, electron transport layer can be fabricated using TiO2 and Al2O3. And next one is the light absorbing layer. The light absorbing layer, which is used to collect incident photons and to create electron hole pairs. Example for this layer is perovskite materials. For this, we can use CH3NH3X. That X may differ. Whichever element we are interested, we can replace that X with that particular element and check the efficiency. Or else we can also use dye molecules. And the third one is hole transporting layer. Hole transport layer is used to protect the active layer and to assist hole transport. Example for this is P3HT, PSS, PDOT. And the last one is a transparent electrode. This acts as a transparent window layer and collects holes. Example for this is FTO and ITO, the well-known material. And now this figure shows the device architecture of perovskite solar cells, which consist of a TiO2 layer, a perovskite material layer, and then iodine, and these are all coated over FTO or ITO glass plates. And moving on to the NREL data. The NREL efficiency data chart of different generation solar cells are shown here. Here the circled part shows the efficiency of perovskite solar cells, which is an indication of increase in efficiency from 2015 towards 2020. Here you can see in this graph. So perovskite solar cells will soon become an alternative for other type of solar cells. Now moving on to the applications of solar cells. Solar cells have lot of applications. The well-known applications are they are used in satellites, calculators, street lamps. Apart from the above applications, there are various commercial products available based on these solar cells. In this, we can see a shade structure, which is a flexible design option for charging laptops and cell phones. And the next one is a solar bag. This type of bags are used to charge cell phones during outdoors. And next one, this is a solar car, and this will be the new solar car which generates power on its own for driving. And moving on to the next one, these are some of the photovoltaic gadgets. This like a solar powered bag, solar powered mobile phones, and solar powered tie. We can use these kind of electronic gadgets while we are going outside and in remote areas, as well as for it is mainly used for outdoor purposes. And this is the one of the amazing invention, which is a dual power of semiconductor like titanium dioxide and solar technology provides amazingly powerful plague removal. And the next one is the solar powered power bank. This solar powered power bank is used to charge a mobile phone. And moving on to the next slide, this is one of the main application, solar powered ship. And next one, the solar panels can be used as an alternative for electricity consumption for residual purpose. And from this, we infer lighting is the most important application, and solar photovoltaic power can meet low energy demands of many remote areas, small or isolated villages, and can be used for medical refrigeration of life-saving drugs, and can be used for water pumping for the purpose of drinking or for irrigation during sunshine hours. The scope of this different generation solar cells is to develop solar cells with high power conversion efficiencies is critical but remains challenging for the sustainable development of human society. And the primary reason that have pushed India towards solar energy goals is that since 2010, there were several subsidies and incentives that the government has implemented and that have encouraged the process of adopting solar energy. With this, I would like to conclude my session. Before that, we can see this flexible dye-sensitized solar cells. The first image shows flexible dye-sensitized solar cell. This flexible dye-sensitized solar cell can be fabricated on both flexible substrates as well as on solid glass-based dye-sensitized modules also it can be done. And it can also be used to power small, medium-sized buildings. And dye-sensitized solar cells are widely used all over the world. Mainly Gratzel laboratory is mainly powered using this dye-sensitized solar cells. And with this, I would like to conclude my today's session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam, for your excellent presentation. The participants can post their questions in the chat box. Madam, a question in the chat box, madam.
Sir.
Posted by Dr. K. Saravakumar.
Sir, I have seen the question.
Yes, yes.
He has asked how much percentage of dopant is used. We have tried with 2 to 3 trials, and we have concluded with about 0.1% of doping has given an efficiency around 1 to 2% efficiency. And this doping percentage not only influences the efficiency of the solar cells, but also while the same dopant is used with a different device architecture, then we have obtained a very good efficiency. That I have mentioned in that inverted organic solar cell. The same tin material has been doped in quantum dot sensitized solar cell as well as in inverted organic solar cell architecture, but the efficiency was comparatively high in case of this inverted organic solar cell.
Okay, madam. Next question is.
Next question. The question was. first generation commercial solar cells cannot be replaced by other generation solar cells. Why? Yes, of course, this is a correct and true fact that first generation is not replaced by other generation solar cells commercially. This is because the other generation solar cells are cost effective, and there are a lot of other advantages over the silicon solar cells, but the long-term durability was a challenging task in different generation solar cells. That means the second or third and the fourth generation solar cells. Still, we are undergoing with research in order to focus on stability of the solar cells. Once we obtain or attain the stability of long-term stability of the solar cells, then that will be a viable alternative for the silicon-based or first generation solar cells. And then this recently the perovskite materials are showing very good efficiency, and soon they may also become one of the alternative for silicon based materials.
Okay, madam. Another question posted by Dr. K. Saravanan sir.
What about the change in band gap in doping? The band gap, we know that the band gap of nanomaterials always differs from their bulk material, and while doping with different elements, the band gap is also affected by the dopants, because one of the fact that we will be confirming that the dopant has been immersed into the TiO2. We will be noting by means of this change in band gap. The change in band gap will give us an information or cross verification that the dopant has been mixed well with the parent TiO2 material. So there will be a band gap change while doping. And another question was asked, where dye-sensitive solar cell and quantum dot sensitive solar cells are used now? Actually, dye-sensitive solar cells are currently used in Gratzel's lab. He was called as the father of dye-sensitive solar cell, and Michael Gratzen uses dye-sensitized solar cell panels in his laboratory, like in windows. The glasses in the windows and main doors, he is coating with the dye sensitized material, and he is powering his own laboratory using the dye sensitive solar cells. But quantum dot sensitive solar cells still we are not using commercially, because some toxic materials are used in quantum dot sensitive solar cells. So researches are going on. I think I have given the explanation for commercial also.
Okay, madam.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you for your reply. Nowadays, we are using non-renewable energy resources for our needs. If we are using like this, one day all the non-renewable energy resources will be exhausted. Therefore, we can go for renewable energy resources. The central and state government are also encourage the people to use the renewable energy resources. For that, they are giving subsidies also. Now I would like to invite Dr. B. Govil, Assistant Professor of Physics, to propose the vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to one and all present here. It's a privilege to propose vote of thanks on this special occasion. First and foremost, I express my deep sense of gratitude to most esteemed President of our college, Dr. M. Arichami sir, and most esteemed Secretary and Director, Dr. C. A. Vasky madam, for their generous support and providing this excellent platform to learn and listen in this pandemic situation. I express my sincere thanks to most respected Principal, Dr. M. Lakshmanaswamy sir, for his encouragement and guidance. My sincere thanks to respected CEO, Dr. V. Chinnuswamy sir, for his constant encouragement. I also render my sincere thanks to respected Dean R&D, Dr. S. Baluswamy sir, and Dean Academics, Dr. S.R. Madan Shankar sir, for their tireless support and guidance. My sincere thanks to our beloved HOD, Dr. M. Dhanam, for her constant support. My appreciation and thanks to today's resource person, Dr. A. Ranjita, Assistant Professor, for her inspiring lecture on different generations of solar cells. In the lecture, she explained about various generations of solar cells and their advantages and disadvantages. From her lecture, we inferred that structure of solar cell play a significant role in determining their efficiency, which will be a key point to the research scholars in future. I thank the convener, Dr. Vijayalakshmi ma'am, and the coordinator Dr. Vigneshwaran sir. And also I thank organizing secretaries Mrs. Revati Bala ma'am and Mr. Sendil Kumar sir for organizing this excellent webinar series. I thank all the participants for their active participation and patience listening. Last but not least, I thank all the technical staff members for their kind support. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for your nice words. The participants are requested to join us tomorrow by 9:45 a.m. The first session will be handled trends and scope of metal complexes as therapeutic agents, and the second session will be handled by Dr. G. Dandabani, Assistant Professor of Botany. He is going to deliver his talk on mechanism of double-stranded RNA, transport and efficiency of RNA interference in the fall armyworm Spodophytra principeda. Thank you for your patient listening. Have a great day. Thank you. Okay.